A major threat for the big four banks. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. I want to have a look at this article written in Yahoo Finance by Eliza Bavin because, well, it's discussing about a major threat for the big four banks, warnings of terrorism and money laundering. It made me think of the Great Reset concerns where the next great pandemic is going to be a digital one, affecting all our computers and digital systems. That's the first thing that came to mind. So let's have a look at this. Big four banks warned of terrorism and money laundering. Well, I honestly think the NFT bullshit, that whole craze, that's a whole lot of money laundering right there. And what about our property sector? How much of that is money laundering? But don't worry. Those things don't matter. Australia's big four banks have been given a stark warning in a new report. Finding funding to terrorism and money laundering activities is high, according to AUSTRAC. Well, the report examines the threats criminals pose to Australia's four major banks, CBA, ANZ, NAB and Westpac. Between the 1st of April 2018 and the 31st of March 2019, the big four banks reported 174,507 suspicious matters to AUSTRAC, accounting for $66.1 billion. I mean, all of this is why they're pushing for the cash ban, the $10,000 cash ban and restrictions. They want to limit the rights and freedoms of law-abiding citizens to try and limit the potential for criminal activity. So additionally, $3.1 trillion was sent offshore, and there were over 2.2 million reported transactions over $10,000, accounting to $50.3 billion. Money laundering is the primary threat facing major banks, followed by tax evasion, drug trafficking, frauds, and scams, the report found. The overall terrorism financing threat to major banks has declined, the report said, but the banks also reported links to many known or suspected cases of terrorism financing in Australia. AUSTRAC's CEO, Nicole Rose, said it's vital the banking sector in Australia uses these risk assessments to help them to protect their business, customers, and the Australian community from criminal threats. Criminals will exploit any gaps and use sophisticated methods for their own personal greed, Rose said. We are navigating a rapidly changing financial system and advances in technologies and platforms. That is why government, law enforcement, and the finance sector must continue to work together to protect Australia's financial system and Australians from serious and organised crime. So why are the banks so vulnerable? AUSTRAC identified the main causes of concern, which have put the big four banks in the highest category of risk. A very large customer base with around 43 million customers was listed as the main point of concern. AUSTRAC said the sector has more high-risk customers than all other reporting entities combined. The big banks' high-risk customers include suspected criminals, politically exposed people, high-net-worth individuals, and temporary visa holders. A significant exposure to cash has left the system vulnerable because of the large amount of products and services allowing potentially bad actors to move cash around quickly and easily. The most vulnerable products were found to be transaction accounts, credit cards, bank checks, trust accounts, corresponding bank services, so pretty much just banking. The move towards online banking is also a cause of concern, the report said. These channels can offer criminals anonymity, facilitate identity fraud and other financial crimes, and complicate detection of unusual or suspicious transactions, the report said. Finally, a very high exposure to foreign jurisdiction risk means the sector is very accessible for international transactions and has opened the sector to even more risk. In the reporting period, major banks facilitated $3.5 trillion in international funds transfers, more than all other AUSTRAC reporting entities combined, the report said. This exposes the subsector to the high level of foreign jurisdiction risk and can make it difficult to detect the movement of criminal proceeds offshore. So what are the consequences for Aussies? Well, you know what it's going to be. More invasion in our lives, I bet you. AussieBroadband said the consequences of money laundering and terrorism funding in Australia in the Australian banking sector is major. Criminal activity can have major consequences for customers. The most significant impacts relate to financial losses, emotional distress as a result of fraud and scam-related offences, and reputational damage, particularly for business customers, the report said. And while the report found the massive size of Australia's Big Four banks means they have the ability to absorb some financial losses from criminal activity, the threat is significant. Given their size, major banks are likely to be able to absorb the financial impacts of criminal activities, AussieBroadband said. However, reputational damage because of systematic criminal exploitation of a major bank may have serious consequences on its ability to attract and retain customers. This may be accentuated if Australia's banking sector becomes more competitive. Additionally, our banking sector stands to lose out on the international landscape should the issue not be addressed. Significant or systematic criminal exploitation of the subsector could cause major damage to Australia's international economic reputation by undermining the security and safety of Australia's financial sector, it said. Predicting offences such as drug trafficking and child exploitation also inflict direct societal harm to the Australian community. So, with that in mind, what is the takeaway or the solution to this, everyone? Here's the thing, more competition. You want more competition in the sector to, well, encourage the banks to manage their affairs a bit better. What do you reckon? What do you think the solution is? And maybe more government regulation? Well, we'll have to see, guys. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments down below. If you're a fan of the channel and enjoy the content I cobble together here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon, sign up for SelfWealth or Stake, use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve or AussieBroadband. You can buy a merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.